What's up, Duval? It's your favorite Jaguar, Bucky Brooks, and this is Bleav in Jags, a podcast dedicated to everything Jacksonville Jaguars. And today is the middle of the week. That means we are going to close the book on what took place last week against the Green Bay Packers and begin to think about what is to come against the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll do a little State of the Union. We'll talk about Cam Robinson being traded and what it means to the team and how Doug Pederson can get a banged-up football team to maybe play their best game against the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. But before we get to that, let's pay off our sponsor, Bet Online. Basketball fans, it's that time of year. The NBA is back. From the opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, Bet Online has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. Bet Online has every stat, matchup breakdown, live odds to bet on during game. And it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL to political props. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. And I love that little tagline when it comes to BetOnline because everything is about the game and how the game starts. And we're going to say this because Doug Pederson talked about it. The slow starts have really crushed the Jaguars when it comes to their offense. Got to get the offense to playing better. And this week, when the offense runs out, they're going to run out with a guy without a player who's been their mainstay at left tackle for years. Cam Robinson was traded away to the Minnesota Vikings this week. The Jaguars got some compensation in return. It wasn't much. It was some late round draft capital in 2026. This was a move just to get Cam Robinson out of the building. He's in the last year of his deal. Walker Little started the last game after Cam suffered a concussion injury, but there was a sense that Walker Little is going to be the future for the Jaguars at that position. And with Cam Robinson bringing back some draft value and also probably wanting a fresh start after he was seemingly demoted, the Jaguars felt that it was best to get him out. I would say this: Cam was a good player, not quite a great player, has the tools to be a great player, but it never necessarily clicked where he played at that Pro Bowl level consistently, even though I think the Jaguars will certainly miss his talent, his toughness, some of the energy that he brought to the team. Minnesota benefits because they lose Christian Darrisaw. They needed someone that could fill in at that position. And for Cam, it's an opportunity to audition for a big money deal in the offseason. If he goes and takes care of his business, he'll be able to land a blockbuster deal and continue to play, to play as a guy that is compensated like a high-end player, whether he realizes that potential or not. For the Jaguars, this is not, I would say, a waving of the white flag. I think it's an opportunity to really do a reset. And as we continue to get, like, the trade deadline is next week, but as this season continues to unfold, I think you have to look at the team and try and figure out who you want to be, which players are the right players to be on this team, not only talent-wise, but attitude-wise. As you attempt to reset the culture, you may see more moves that are done to, I would say, upgrade the feeling and the togetherness within the locker room. And so the puzzle pieces have to fit. And so there are going to be some notable names that may walk out of the door, particularly if the season doesn't turn around. Optimistic, but if it doesn't turn around, that's the reality. When your team loses, you begin to look for solutions. You begin to try and eradicate any guys that you deem to be problems. And you try to not necessarily blow it up, but you try to scale it back, prune the trees, and put yourself in a position where you can bounce back next year the way that you want to. Not saying that we're there yet, but if we don't win games soon, we certainly will be there, and you'll see more moves like this made. So Cam Robinson gets out. It's a great opportunity for Walker Little. Walker Little was someone that internally the coaching staff has been high on. He's a guy who, look, like going all the way back to high school, he's one of the more celebrated recruiting prospects coming out. Goes to Stanford, has a career that is really kind of up and down due to injuries. The Jaguars take him in the second round, and you see the size, you see the talent. You can see why he was a five-star player coming out. He has all the things that you look for in the tackle position. And playing left tackle, certainly from a technique standpoint, he has the traits. He flashes the skills to be able to succeed and succeed against elite competition on the other side. The thing that we haven't done is we haven't seen him do it consistently. And we also need to see, I would say this, need to see a little more dog competitor come out in him, a little more nastiness, a little more violence, some more physicality. Really important that he displays those things as the Jaguars are trying to kind of really settle into who they are and what they are. Internally, they would tell you they're a physical football team. They should be able to run the football. They want to pound people. They want to lean on the bigs up front to set the table for the guys on the perimeter. All of those things suggest that Walker Little should be a nice fit. But in looking at his tape, he has to dominate at the line of scrimmage in the run game. He has to finish with more violence in the run game. He has to be able to hold his own in pass protection without being susceptible to inside moves and those things. If he can tighten some of those areas up, the Jaguars have a guy who, I'm not calling him a franchise tackle, but he certainly is a potential high-end tackle that you can win with for a number of years. So Walker Little would be under the scope this week, stepping in for Cam Robinson for the foreseeable future. He needs to be a bright spot, someone that we celebrate and rave about, because ultimately there's going to have to be a decision made whether you pay to keep him or you allow him to go. This is one where Walker Little needs to earn the money by playing really well over the next 8 or so games. Let's talk about this beat-up football team, man. The Jaguars are beat up in the middle of the year. Still got a few weeks before the bye week, but right now, man, I won't even say limping to the finish, but limping to the midway point. And the reason why is Christian Kirk is gone. He's down, breaks his collarbone, not expected to return this season. That's disappointing because that's one of your top guys. Brian Thomas Jr. is, game time decision likely. Talking about an injury where he fell on the ball and just, whether it's ribs or whatever, just very uncomfortable when it comes to being able to move around and play. Probably expect him to give it the good old college try, but we'll see if he's able to go. And then Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis comes out with another injury. He has been, I would say, a little maybe frustrating in terms of the watch. When you sign him expecting that he's going to be the number 2 on the outside, winning those matchups. I frequently talked about guy averaged 16.7 yards per catch in Buffalo. He was a big play machine. We haven't really seen that. We've seen someone who has struggled at times catching the ball and kind of making some of those things work. But it's one of those things where he has to perform, he has to play. And with Christian Kirk out, whenever Gabe Davis returns, he needs to play like the number 2 receiver in the lineup. If BTJ is number 1, he's going to be a number 2, and it needs to be clear separation between him and Parker Washington in terms of who's the 2 and who's the 3. Gabe Davis was signed to be the number 2. This is his opportunity when he gets back healthy to be that number 2. When we talk about next man up, who fills the void in Christian Kirk's absence? I would say everyone has to do a little more. I would expect a little more from Evan Ingram. He's the most versatile player in that room or on the field at wide receiver and tight end. He can do a bunch of different things. He'll be fine. I would expect Brian Thomas Jr., when he gets back, to be the number 1 option in the passing game. Big-time player, specialized in the explosive plays, the big chunk plays that have really ignited the offense. He needs to be a guy that continues to make progress. I think the bigger thing is, from a next man up perspective, Parker Washington has to be the next one up. I think you can look at Christian Kirk and look at Parker Washington and say they're built similarly. Skill sets to me are different, but the similarities in terms of how they play in the slot and what they're asked to do. You can kind of begin to see maybe Parker Washington is being groomed for a bigger role to play in the slot. And Parker Washington, what you have is a guy who has made a dramatic jump from first year to second year. We've seen him put the ball in the paint in the kicking game. We've seen him make plays as a receiver, but we haven't seen him string it all together consistently. This would be his first opportunity to be on the field and know that he's not coming out if he makes a mistake. That should allow him to play free, allow him to be aggressive, allow him to make some of the plays that he makes routinely on the practice field. Let's see if you can make some of those things happen in game. And so next man up mentality, being able to jump in there, being able to have success, it's kind of what you want to see from the group up front. We talked about already Walker Little going in the game. We talked about injuries. Ezra Cleveland is banged up. Brandon Sheriff is banged up. And so you just have a hodgepodge of players who could jump in. Keep an eye on the offensive line and the injury report to see who's going to be available. Because the tough thing about preparing, when you don't have everyone on the field and you don't have everyone operating at the same time, you just don't know if everyone gets it at the same pace, at the same energy level, with the same intensity that the game is going to be played at. You got to make sure that you guys are off to the side. They're getting the reps, they're getting in, they understand what to do, and they're doing it fast, because for this offense to get going, it's going to take all 11 to be on the same page. I can talk about the perimeter guys catching the ball. I can talk about the interior guys blocking, but ultimately it's going to ride or die on the running game going forward. And this is why it's really important. We talk about next man up. How about I say next man returns, in terms of Travis Etienne rejoining the backfield and giving them a nice combination with Bigsby and Etienne in this potential collective or situation where Etienne is the starter, Tank Bigsby is number 2. I would say it needs to be outside inside. Travis, I'm going to run on the edges. Travis, I'm going to use in the passing game on swings and screens and other things. I'm going to use him more as the wide receiver. And I'm going to let Tank go to work being Tank. Tank is a downhill runner. Tank has some violence and physicality to his game. Tank rarely loses yards in the run because he's very, very specific in terms of what his goal is when he has the ball in his hands. He's trying to get north-south as quick as possible because that's the easiest and shortest path to the zone. Not a lot of dancing, not a lot of moving around. Got to continue to find ways to utilize both of these guys and their talent. What works for Jacksonville and what works for this current version of the team: run game, play action, ball control approach with some selective shots in. Run game. The reason why the running game is important, it allows you not only to set and dictate the tone of the game, but it allows you to control the game. The more you're running it, the more clock you're running, you now draining it out. You're milking the clock all the way out. Now, they're in hurry-up mode when they haven't never even had an opportunity to be in regular survival mode or thrive mode. That's what you want. Your offense is helping your defense, making life easy for them. On defense, and we'll talk about defense in a minute, but first, before I talk about defense, let me talk about my sponsor, Cherry Bundy. Cherry Bundy, my little recovery thing. This is my little secret sauce that allows me to do a hard workout, but to bounce right back here in a little pure cherry flavor, little pure cherry. And what this does is, guys, it takes care of your body, your immune system, being able to bounce back from soreness and inflammation, all of those things. We can eliminate it and reduce it with a little tart cherry juice. You get that, you're feeling good, you're back, work out a little harder. You can be the strong, I would say the strong person that we want everyone to be. Strong, fit, focused. Let's do that. The way you can do it, get a Cherry Bundy. Check out the website, cherrybundy.com. Make sure you pick it up at a store that's selling, maybe a Target. Now, let's talk about the defense. On defense, this has been problematic, man, because defense is down at the bottom of the barrel. People are just slinging bows and arrows at the defense. They're talking about, why can't this defense get going? What's going on with Ryan Nielsen and the defense, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what I will say. When you're playing a bunch of young players in the back end, there are going to be some growing pains and some struggles. And because the starting lineup that we thought was going to be in the defensive backfield has not been available, yeah, it's been a little tougher than we expected from the defense. You didn't play with Tyson and Campbell early in the year. You're now playing without Ronald Darby. Dewey has been out. So in essence, talk about 3/4 of your unit hasn't consistently been there. No excuses, though. You got to play with the ones that you have available. And what has happened, unfortunately, is despite the simple calls, despite the simple tweaks and adjustments that accompany all of the calls, guys have been overwhelmed and bombarded and not being able to communicate and sitting on the mute button and not talking to one another, not letting each other know what they see, what they're thinking, what they're anticipating, how they're going to play it. Communication has to improve in the back end because we're seeing too many coverage busts, too many guys running butt naked, scot-free down the middle of the field, and no one has coverage or awareness on them. That's problematic, man. That's something that needs to be covered. I don't mean for not covering it, but that is problematic. You got to be able to get off the field. You got to communicate. You got to use your technique. You got to trust your fundamentals under pressure. All of those things that we've talked about, the young guys have to continue to work on and get better at. Now, the other thing that I'll say in terms of working on and getting better, Cisco playing in a deep middle. Like, he's been solid for the most part, but there's some big plays that pop up where he's either out of position or whatever. And I don't know if he's ball hunting, if he's trying to bait people, if he's trying to set traps, but he has really got to step up as the guy that we're counting on to be the sure tackle on the quarterback. He has to close quickly, come to balance, finish. He has to be able to get him down to the ground, because if you take that part away, you have an opportunity to really dictate the terms to the offense, make them one-dimensional, make them throw against a ferocious pass rush led by, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen. This is what ultimately you want to see. You want to see 41 and 44, put their hands in the dirt and go after the quarterback and just wreck the plan. The problem that you have is you can't wreck the plan on passing downs until you dominate run downs. Jaguars are struggling stopping the run. And one of the reasons why they're not stopping the run, discipline, pursuit, and tackling. Those are the three things that you must have when it comes to playing good run defense. Got to be disciplined, own your gap, control your gap, don't fall for the okie doke. Got to be ready for any of the tricks, the hocus pocus stuff. Like, can't give up the big plays. Got to pursue, got to tackle, got to make sure you're on top of all those things, and then force this team to have to throw it when everyone in the building knows they're going to throw it. When you do that, you have an opportunity to get interceptions off tips and overthrows, because everyone on their lineup is going to stare down the quarterback, stare down where they're throwing. And if you just read and react to where his eyes are going, make a lot of plays, and I expect that to happen. Now, I'll say this defensively, a couple areas that we got to continue to work on in terms of filling personnel. Who's the next pass rusher after Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker? Because whoever that guy is, man, he needs to show up. He needs to be accounted for. He needs to be ready, because all hands on deck when it comes to it. We need everybody. Everyone has to be a contributor. Everybody has to be able to come up here and make a play in some way, shape, or form. If you don't have that, man, you don't have a chance. Got to be talented, got to be tough enough, but you also got to be tenacious with your work ethic to be able to get it done. As we are about to do a little sneak, little itty bitty wiggle and peek on the Philadelphia Eagles, let's take the time to shout out my last sponsor, Melon Hats. You see Melon? Got you locked up. See the logo? Logo is real, nice and tight. This is one of the most durable, most well-constructed hats that you will find. This is not the height. Yeah, this is part of the Hydro collection. It means that instead of sweating it out, making your hat all messy, this is going to wipe away the sweat. Your hat will not stain or get all out of whack. Great hat for you golfers out there. Great hat for just going on walks. I like to walk every day around the neighborhood. Make sure I always walk out with my Melon hat. So check out Melon. melin.com. Great hats. Make sure you pick up one. Finally, when we talk about the Jaguars, all right, so let's talk about where we are and who we're playing. Going to take on the Philadelphia Eagles, Doug Pederson's old squad, where Doug Pederson is revered for winning a world title, has a statue in the building, so we got to go check that out. The other things that we have to do getting into this week, I think the number one thing when Ryan Nielsen attacks this week, he has to make a decision. Who's the guy? Who's the guy that you got to stop to slow down this team? I would say the straw that stirs the drink is the running back, 26. Saquon Barkley is the straw that stirs the drink. You got to make sure that you have a plan for dealing with the running back, where he lines up, when he lines up, where's the ball going, all those other things. That stuff has to be documented. That stuff has to be accounted for, because you need to know where he's going to make it happen. The other thing you got to be able to do, you got to be able to account for the offensive line. One of the best offensive lines in football. They're physical. The more opportunities they get to lean on you, the better they get over the course of the game. Got to be ready to deal with a physical running game. You can do that when you got a back, but you got to commit to running the football, putting a 25 spot when it comes to the run column. That would be a solid overall effort. When it comes to the perimeter players, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, all those guys are terrific. They can win their one-on-one battles. We can pick and choose how we're going to play it, but both guys are dangerous when they hit the ball in the hand. So know that the ball's coming up. And if you're in bump and run, the ball's going to come up and outside, because that's the only way they know how to attack it. Now let's talk about on the other side of the ball. We can talk about the offensive line, but everyone knows their offensive line is rock solid. They're good to go. Defensively, changing scheme. Vic Fangio takes over and puts his own style of scheme in. A little more four-man, some three, some nickel, but it's basic ball, man. There's no trickums. There's no gadgets, no gimmicks, no anything. This is a straight-up game where you're going to have to knock them off to be able to keep them off the quarterback, to keep them off the run game, and to eventually score points. When I look at how this team can defend everything, man. A lot of it is just the speed that they have at linebacker, even though he might be struggling at times. Not Roquan is terrific, but even though you're having some issues where you're trying to fix the defense with the young guys, the old guys, and those things, last few weeks have been really, really exciting because the team has played well. You just haven't got the bump over the edge that you need to when you have a franchise quarterback. Well, now that you talk about a team in Jalen Hurts that has not only big-time quarterback play, big-time weapons on the outside, got a front line that can move and mold people, got a big back who's probably the best in football. They have everything. How do you slow this down? Well, one, you got to stop the running game because when the Eagles are able to run the game, they can dictate the terms in a variety of ways. They can keep running down your throat. They can be casual and let you just kind of float out there and kind of do your own thing while trying to contact you. Or you can just have a clean, abrupt, break when it comes to that stuff. Here's what I'll say about Hurts and the Eagles offense. Big play offense. I mean, it's a big play offense. They can drive the length of the field, but this is a big play offense. They are searching for big plays at all time. The quarterback has been solid of late, adapting to Kellen Moore's system, trying to fit it in. It is not like the Eagles offense of old where he was running and pulling and doing those things. They're running, but they're not running them the way that they were running them before. Got to be on your P's and Q's, got to cover on the outside, and we can't double everybody, so people are going to have to hold up in their matchups. Defensively, Vic Fangio brings a multi-faceted defense that's going to come at you in a variety of ways. He is going to test your quarterback's ability to win the pre-snap game, not necessarily through exotic movements and those things, but they're constantly shuttling personnel in. So you got to just kind of know where everything is. Got to know where the tight end is at all times. Got to know where 16 is at all times. Got to know where the tight end is at all times. They're going to do that because with the Jags, this is probably going to be a 12 personnel week. And so you got to know where Britton Strange is. You got to know where Evan Ingram is. Do you put them on both sides to see if you can create a matchup? Can you dictate the terms out of your 12 personnel packages if you're the Jaguars to make sure that these guys are balanced? Without your maybe three of your starters at wide receiver, this is going to be more of a grimy game with 12 personnel. You want to give Vic Fangio plenty of things to think about because where he sets the defense to the tight end could create some vulnerabilities if you're really creative with your formations, your alignments, because you can change the way they have to assign. In the back end, they're playing with two young guys that are really great, man. Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, terrific young players, a lot of promise. Both of these guys were really intriguing in the draft process. They are as advertised playing as first-year players. Love it. Got to see how they're going to play. The matchups are definitely in their favor because you're limited in terms of how you can test them and go at them. This would be one where you got to move them with deception and misdirection in the backfield to create deep shots down the field if you're able to take shots down the field. Then the final part, I would say this, like about the Eagles. Whenever you're dealing with the Eagles, you just know their linebacker core is not one that they've invested a lot of money in, but really good players. Jacoby Dean being the guy who has the dot. He's going to call the signals. He's going to get them going. He's kind of like the guy that gets the party started with his energy. Got to make sure you take care of them. And when I look at this matchup, and we talk about the Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, top 10 team, a team that's on the rise under Nick Sirianni. It is about making sure that you own the line of scrimmage. You own the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. You are able to impose your will with the running game, and you find a way to protect Trevor from the crazy stuff that can come against Vic Fangio by making sure you're ahead of the change, you're able to run the football, and you're able to dictate the terms to the defense. We'll get into more of it on Friday, but that was just like a little tasty cake, a little preview of what they can do on defense. Next time, we'll take a deeper dive in terms of their defense and what they want to do. Until next time, make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you check out all the cool things that we're doing at the Bleav Network. Check us out on Fubo. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure you give my colleagues a holler for other teams, see what some of the cool stuff that they're doing. But make sure you come back here as we continue to grow the community out. Even though the season has not been exactly what we want, we still got an opportunity to turn around, but it starts with one, and hopefully that one will start this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles. Until then, I am Bucky Brooks, and I'm out.